you ride like Bobby Boucher? Do you ride your riding lawnmower into work then?
No, I still push mine. I need the step. And opened a floor cleaning business in Colorado.
Okay.
And it segued into a restoration company. And Katrina hit down here. I had a buddy that had a contact that had the janitorial contract with Blockbuster Video.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so I came down here, was here for 4 months, and met a nice Southern girl.
Okay.
And I've been here ever since, for the most part.
Welcome to 2021. We've got some big things happening in 2021. You'll see an ad or a segment later where we talk about some recommended reading from people that have been guests on the DYOJO podcast and are practitioners in our industry and adjacent as far as insurance claims. But 2021 is also the year of the Flippin' podcast.
You want to go do karate in the garage?
Yup.
You've got so the OGs. If you are not listening or have not listened to IAQ Radio with Cliff the Z-Man Zlotnick, the godfather of the disaster restoration industry, and Radio Joe Hughes, you owe it to yourself to check out what they're doing. A lot of their stuff is really technical on the building sciences side, but there's Ed Cross, Mark Springer, Cliff talks about history in the industry. Let's see, John Downey's been on there. Ken Larson, who's coming on our show coming up, has been on there. People just that have kind of been there, done that, and seen the industry, at its early stages and helped develop it. You still got people there, and then innovators and those kinds of things. So you owe it to yourself to give IAQ Radio a listen. They actually do it live every Friday, I believe at noon Eastern time. So, and then our buddy, the guy that helped me get into it, Jarrett Steer with the GMS podcast, just celebrated his 50th. So that's fun. Eric and Larry over from Morning Tech Meeting, Blue Collar Nation. They do a great job. Skylar Lewis, who was on our podcast, he's got his Rise Up Kings. That's aimed more at dudes, that balance of faith and business and family.
A man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man.
Idan Shipzier has a series of videos on YouTube, Get Out of the Truck, and then he released his new content for Stay Out of the Truck for entrepreneurs. Andy McCabe was relaunching, I think it's a Claims Clinic podcast. I was a guest there, and then I guess that was enough for season 2. So get to it, Andy. You got Clark Brown is releasing the Disaster Podcaster. Let's see. You got the Service Monster podcast. Chris Stanley, who was a guest on our podcast, the DYOJO podcast, has the IA Path. That's for independent adjusters and appraisers. So there's a lot to, industry adjacent, I guess. Gordy Powell finally launched the Biocast 411, so kudos to him. Jeff Cross, of course, has his series Straight Talk from Clean Facts. Jeff Cross from Clean Facts. And then Michelle Blevins with Restoration and Remediation has Ask the Experts. So just a lot of great content coming from our industry. So if you haven't heard it yet, you got we're with Restoration and Remediation magazine. We've got The Intentional Restorer, January 2021, coming out next Friday. Baby Steps. So kind of taking some advice from, the premier, the early celebrity psychologist that helps you, get your mindset right so that your habits can follow, Dr. Leo Marvin.
He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
So we run off of some of his ideas and apply those to professional growth. So anyways, this we recorded this late last year with Kevin Hussey from United Fire and Water. Oh, I should be wearing... Sorry, Kevin. I meant to do this earlier. He was nice enough to send a hat, so boom, really slick. They are independent out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and they're a part of the DKI, the Disaster Clean network that was originally started by industry innovator and instigator Ed York. So that's a name, tidbit. That's a name you should look up and read some of the fun stories. John Downey had a really good article about him. He's obviously since passed, and so it's fun trying to read and chase down some content and information about people from the past. So our discussion with Kevin Hussey kind of talks about how he started in carpet cleaning in Colorado, which evolved, like many companies, into disaster restoration. He went down to Louisiana following Katrina, and as he says, met a nice Southern girl. And he's been there ever since. So he talks about some of his ups and downs and the lessons he's learned along the way. That is our goal here at the DYOJO podcast, helping you shorten your dang learning curve for personal and professional development. And so we try to have fun with it, but at the core of it is just that. So please stay tuned for our history, our 1 year history. We've been doing Mondays. I am pivoting to trying to do as much live content as possible.
I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live!
I feel like that gives us more opportunity for interaction with the audience, but also it cuts down on my editing time because, believe it or not, I was talking to Jarrett from GMS Podcast about this. It takes several hours to edit even a mediocre podcast like the DYOJO podcast. So that the goal will be Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, as much as possible. That will be when the DYOJO podcast live. So we'll be pivoting to releasing content that same time. So either it'll be live or released. And so I'm excited. Kevin's got a lot of good stuff to share, and let's get after it. This is a slick hat. Look at that logo.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So do you ride like Bobby Boucher? Do you ride your riding lawnmower into work then?
No, I still push mine. I need the step.
Haven't quite hit the big time yet, huh? So, well, we were talking offline. So you grew up in California, you went to Tahoe, and then so your first introduction to the industry was in Colorado. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was in Colorado. I was working. I was just basically being a ski bum and having fun, living a great life. I don't know why it changed.
Yeah.
No, I decided I wanted to do something. So I opened it was predominantly floor cleaning business in Aspen, Colorado, with my brother in early 1999.
Okay.
He and I were going to murder each other. So I ended up buying out another kind of a sister company. It wasn't a franchise, but the guy over in Vail bought him out in 2001, about a month before 9/11. That was pretty scary.
Yeah.
But that took off. We did well in Vail, and I had a buddy there who was from Louisiana, and he wanted to get out of the ski industry and move back to Baton Rouge, where he was from, open a company similar to what I was doing there in Vail. So it was, at the time, it was probably 60%, 65% floor cleaning, 35% restoration.
Okay.
And that was in the spring of 2004. So he went back to Baton Rouge, bought a van. He had a dozen pieces of equipment or so. And a year and a half later, Katrina hit.
Yeah.
And he didn't have much in the way of resources, but he did have a contact that had a janitorial contract with Blockbuster Video.
What is that?
Blockbuster Video. Yeah, those guys.
Hey!
Where did you get those clothes? At the toilet store?
Some young people may not remember that organization, but we ended up doing probably 40 stores for them, from Biloxi to Baton Rouge, the majority of which were in New Orleans. We had a great fall. I was here for about 4 months, and long story short, I met a nice Southern girl, and here I am 15 years later.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
What was the girl, the mom says, she's the devil.
Unfortunately, I'm not getting too much of that, but
Yeah, that's good. I know you're real active on the socials. I see you in the groups and whatnot on Facebook and that kind of thing. Are you 100% independent, or do you all do some TPA work?
we're not on any program work with the exception of some small commercial projects that we get from DKI, since we're a member. But we don't deal with the Alacrities, the Bear Claims, the Crawfords. We're not on any of that. So basically 100% of our work is organic. We get an occasional job here or there. I think we're less than maybe 2% of our work over the past 4 years that we've been on with them.
Yeah.
From DKI. So.
And is DKI as a network, do they do program work, or they're part of that trying to be independent as well as a whole?
DKI, the members vary from, smaller companies up to some pretty big players, 20 to 30, 40, $50 million a year companies. Everybody is basically allowed to do what you want. You can build your business model however you would like. And I think a lot of them have different focuses. Some of them are on program work.
Right.
Some are not, like me. I don't think, my guess would be that the majority of the DKI membership is not heavy on the program side of things.
Right. And so you said about 5 years ago. So what, 2015 or so is when you?
2016. Yeah, September 2016. So we've got about 9 months left on our contract with them.
Okay. What made you decide to sign up with DKI or become a part of their network?
I was sitting at home on a Friday night, and this is probably 2014, and I was just doing mitigation. I had like one technician, and maybe at the time on this particular night, I didn't have anybody working for me. And my phone rang, and I had to get up and go out and suck sewage out of somebody's house on a Friday at 9, 10 o'clock, worked half the night, and I was 45 probably.
Yeah.
And I just decided, I was like, this is not sustainable. I need to grow my company if I ever want to be able to just stop working. And I don't know, something lit a fire under me that night. And we didn't get on with DKI for probably a year or more later, but I started looking for a partner. I hired a guy that he's a partial owner of my company now. He's our general manager and our CFO.
Nice.
It's really helped to facilitate a lot of stability, a lot of structure in our company. And I've kind of been the force behind our growth to some extent. DKI played a big role in that, in that the membership, a lot of really smart guys in DKI. A lot of guys have already solved the problems that we're currently encountering, the problems that we're going to see in the future. And most of these guys are very open, and they'll share with you their experience and how they got over a hurdle or, through a rough patch, and how problems that they had that they solved. And so we've really seen tremendous growth since our involvement with DKI began.
And that's really cool to hear, because so that's hard, right? I mean, it sounds like, so in 2005, I imagine you guys are slammed, right? Katrina's going, there's just so much work, right? Type of thing.
Yeah.
And then as you peel off of that, then you're trying to, okay, now we have to develop a business and actually own the market and those kinds of things. So I want to get into what got into you hiring a general manager, those kinds of things. But what were some of the early things that you did to generate local work? I noticed you had CajunMaintenance.com. Is that fairly recent, or has that always been a part of the?
No, we opened Cajun Maintenance as a plumbing company. We had some HVAC involved at the beginning, but that kind of went by the wayside, and we focused heavily on plumbing for about 2 years. And and it as a result of wanting more water damage work.
Yeah.
And it worked to some extent, but the plumbing partner that we had was not ready for the kind of growth that we wanted. He was a master licensed plumber. He's a damn good plumber, and we still do business with him today, but we sold off the company to David, is his name, in 2016. And it was just consuming a lot in the way of human resources. My GM was busy dealing with plumbing customers and invoices and booking calls, and my sales girl was 100% of her time all of a sudden went to plumbing. And so the restoration side really got neglected for a little bit. And just decided, you know what, let's pull the plug. Let's sell the plumbing company and focus on our wheelhouse, which is water damage.
Well, that's what a lot of, I mean, you've got, so at the DYOJO podcast, our goal is to help people shorten their dang learning curve, right? So that's exactly right. You're like, okay, I've been doing work. Maybe you pay for plumbers or you get a lot of work from plumbers, and like, why don't I be my own plumber? And then like you're talking about, it kind of, rather than creating more work, it splits your focus, right? I mean, you have to have the right people and the right systems to sustain that.
Absolutely. And on top of it, when we opened the plumbing company, we alienated some of the plumbers that we were already doing business with.
Yep.
So we've spent a substantial amount of time since 2016 when we sold the company back to David, re-engaging those guys that were doing business with us beforehand. And it's been a good push since.
Is that a popular thing down in Louisiana, or for you as an independent, like paying for leads with plumbers and those kinds of things? I think that's universal, but
yeah, no, there are a couple other companies here that do it in Baton Rouge, but it's surprising that it's not more competitive than it is. Like I've heard in Phoenix, it's $1,500 for referral, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Where's your profit? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to be doing some pretty big mitigation jobs or mitigation jobs.
Yeah.
We pay about $300 on average for our referrals here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fairly similar, I think, in Washington, but it's starting to creep up, so.
Yeah.
What's interesting is a lot of people that poo-poo on the programs, a lot of the systems that people get into, especially where it's super competitive with the pay for plumbers, you basically have the same thing. You're paying for leads and they may be good or not.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the goal is you want to get work based on value, right? Your name in the market. As you're building your company, you kind of do whatever you got to do to get that going. But it is really funny talking to a lot of people that say, I'll never do contractor connection. And then you talk to them and what they're doing, and it's pretty much the same thing, just a different name.
Yeah. You're paying somebody. You're paying pay-per-click, or you're paying a website developer for SEO. You're paying a salesman. You're paying a plumber. I mean, you're going to drop some dollars somewhere. To generate leads.
Yep. And hopefully you can bridge that into something further more sustainable, right? So. It's 2021. Some people are still laying out their New Year's resolutions, their goals. A lot of talk about reading.
I read about it in a book.
Reading books and those kinds of things. So just wanted to give you a few recommendations from the DYOJO. You may have seen the article already. Actually, it's coming out this Friday in the Intentional Restorer, Restoration and Remediation magazine. But our buddy, Dr. Leo Marvin, friend of the show, his book, Baby Steps, A Guide to Living Life One Step at a Time. I'm the only one that has this small of a copy.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
The Intentional Restorer, January 2021, taking baby steps towards your goals. So, aside from the hard to acquire Baby Steps by Dr. Leo Marvin, we hear a lot of people talking about having issues with technician documentation, having to develop their own programs and things. This is the 24-Hour Tech by Andrew McCabe, the godfather of remote estimating. He's been a guest on both the DYOJO podcast and Pro versus Joe talking about his experiences with new innovations like Matterport, and some of the lessons learned the hard way. A lot of you know him from the Restoration Rebels and his videos on YouTube, but this has got a step-by-step manual to increase mitigation profits and reduce training time to just 1 day. Boom. So 2021, if you are thinking about starting your own business, getting out of the truck, as it were, Idan Shipzir, CEO of 911 Restoration, he's also been a guest on the podcast, shares his experiences with immigrating to America, learning carpet cleaning, and then starting his own business, and then not only starting but scaling quickly. So build the business you always dreamed about. He's also got a series of videos now on YouTube, Get Out of the Truck, and he's developed a new tool this year for entrepreneurs to stay out of the truck. So you got get out of the truck, then you need to stay out of the truck. Check out his YouTube page for more content coming out. This is a great book. We reviewed it when we spoke with him. I also have a review on Restoration and Remediation Magazine if you want to get the gist of it. Both of those super quick reads. So if you're struggling in 2021, I can't recommend, this is again, all of these books so far are from our industry. Rachel Stewart, who was with Titan Restoration, is now with Accelerate Restoration Software. Unqualified Success. My wife also read this book. She's not in our industry. This is not industry specific. This is, she mentioned some of her story, but other than that, but this book, I can't recommend it enough. I've got notes in here where basically the DYOJO wasn't born, but I realized that was the way to rebrand and to go back after it. And also, I think I've referred to it a few times, but the tale of the two wolves, or the story of the two wolves, where the grandson goes up to his grandfather and the grandfather says there's two wolves warring inside of you. One is fear, negativity, doubt, all those kinds of things. The other one is positivity, confidence, self-reliance, ambition, those kinds of things. And they're warring inside of you. And the grandson says, how do I know which one will win? And the wise grandfather says, the one that you feed. So, feed your mind. Mindset, we talk a lot about mindset and habits. This is a great one. Bridging the gap between where you are now and where you want to be to achieve massive success. So, Rachel was a guest on the podcast. You can check that out. This is Industry Adjacent, Independent Adjusters Playbook by Chris Stanley of IA Path. So Andy McCabe talks about getting your mitigation and training to just 1 day. Chris Stanley helps get independent adjusters up and working in 90 days. And so we talked about that with him on the podcast. There are, if you are a growth-minded professional, estimator, those kinds of things, kind of understanding that independent adjusters have to go through a similar process to us, right? And as Chris said on our episode with him, learn how to play inside the box. Everybody's got a box.
Just follow these steps. 1.
Cut a hole in a box.
2, 3.
Open the box, and that's the way.
Right, so figuring out what their box is, helping them with their box, and then figuring out how to communicate things that are outside of the box. Great stuff. Check out that episode with Chris Stanley. And then finally, humble brag, but my book came out in 2020, The Mindset and Habits for Yourself and Team to Succeed with Estimating Property Insurance Claims. This is, again, all these are, it really is mindset and habits, right? Where what you think will affect how you act affects how you make progress on your goals. So this maybe rounds out, but that.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
That's maybe if you're wondering which books to add to your arsenal for 2021. Rachel's is available on Audible. I'm working on mine. We shall see. I keep saying that, but we shall see. But anyways, a few books for you to check out 2021. All of these have been guests on the DYOJO podcast, so obviously we're biased, but good stuff in each of them. Okay, so can you talk to, or how much can you share, like what's you're building something up and you have the aha moment, right? As far as both being open to joining a larger network. I'm sure that comes with some trepidation, right? Are you giving up any aspect of your freedom or your ability to make your own decisions? And then also hiring somebody at the same time, recognizing, sounds like your strength is probably more getting the work, and then his strength is in the operations and the back end stuff. Is that accurate?
That's spot on. Yes.
Yeah. So what was that process like for you, identifying somebody they're like, okay, this is the person that can, I would assume part of that starts with being honest with yourself, right? This is what I'm good at. This is what I can do that doesn't drain my batteries. And then how did you identify and bring somebody on and build that trust, I guess?
Well, I knew there were some things that I didn't like doing.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't good at, I guess, as a result.
Yeah.
My books, I'm much better at looking at my numbers today than I was when I hired Lee. That was 5 years ago. He's this GM CFO. He's got an accounting background. He's got an accounting degree. He's in his mid 60s.
Okay.
He's not real big in stature, but he's a very respectable guy. And I think that everybody on my team at this point take direction from him well. He's a good manager of people.
Yeah.
And that's not me. I mean, if you've read the book Traction,
yep.
Gino Wickman, there's a visionary and an integrator.
Yep.
And we clearly fit in those roles. I'm the visionary, he's the integrator. Yep. It's like ham and eggs.
Well, but the funny thing though is it's identifying that, right? That, okay, I'm the visionary, he's the integrator. But a lot of people, there's just that resistance to give that piece up, right? Because if you're a visionary by nature, it's hard for you to trust an integrator, naturally, right?
Yeah.
Vice versa, right? Because they're just, you need that yin and yang, and that is critical in a business. So what did those conversations look like, or how did you know that he was the guy? Had you read Traction before you started this process?
No, I just read Traction in the last 2 years, and Lee's been on with us since middle of 2015. So 5+ years. No, so I had not read it, and I tend to get burned a little bit.
Yep.
Probably too often because I trust people.
Yep.
I'm going to do the right thing. And it goes back to I'm not a great manager of people. I'm not great at holding people accountable. Excuse me. But with Lee, it wasn't a problem. I mean, I let the reins go. I let him take control of the financials. I let him take control of the management aspect of it, which when we started was easy because there was only a couple of us. My wife was working with us. We had one technician, and we were opening the plumbing company, which was basically one plumber, one vehicle, and probably not even a helper at the beginning.
Yeah.
So the management aspect was a lot easier than it is today. He's just a natural, man, and he's vested in the company now. He owns a percentage of stock. I mean, he's an owner. Yeah. And he's like one since the first day he came on board with us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's scary too, right? Like giving people a piece of the pie and expecting them to. But the opposite of that, if you don't give people a piece of the pie, then they're never going to treat it like it's their own, right? So
you're right. And I mean, on the flip side of that is that if you're going to hire somebody who's got his skill set and his commitment to the company, that's a very expensive employee if he's on payroll. And the trade-off is that Lee would work for less than what I would have paid someone had I not offered him equity, Yep.
Well, and typically somebody further along in their career, they want they want that long-term piece, right? Like building, give me a piece of the action and we'll build it together, right? So
exactly.
Well, and you touched on that. I noticed in one of your posts you had said kind of taking advantage of the situation with the pandemic and COVID-19 is your goal for 2020 was to really know your numbers. So for you, what does that mean? How have you pursued that? And then what are some of the tools and processes that have helped you gain traction?
I'm pretty good with tracking my numbers, and I've been for some time. I know how many water damage jobs we do in a year's time. I know what my average water damage bill is. I know how much we've done for commercial compared to residential. This year, my focus has been really on pinpointing exactly who our customer is.
Okay.
And generating some numbers or some projections as to what do we think we'll be able to add this year and how.
Yeah.
It's plumbers. And so we've done about $1 million in work just with plumbers this year.
Wow.
I think it's pretty much all residential.
Yeah.
We want to double that number next year. We want to go from 100 leads through plumbers this year to 200 next year.
Wow.
We want to raise our average water damage ticket. We're at about $6,700 this year. And we feel like we're going to add some more processes that will be able to drive that up a little bit by getting an IEP or a CIH involved at the front end of every job.
Yeah.
And we're going to see David Sweet next month and learn some of the stuff that he's doing with documentation and making sure that the house is dry completely and that you're not missing any billing items and that you're making sure that the client's taken care of.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking about numbers, that's what I'm talking about in 2021 is let's paint a picture of the bars here now,
yeah,
where it will be next year at this time.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to paint that picture for my team so that everybody understands this is the direction that we're going. This is what we're going to shoot for in 2021.
Well, at All American, that's something that we've looked at too. Is I just posted that today. A few quality leads kills a bunch of shit ones. You know, like chasing your tail. Well, maybe that's a good question for you. Is how do you? Is it important for you to go after the right plumbers to get the right leads, or you just want all of them?
No, it's important. I mean, obviously, you're not going after plumbers that do new construction.
Yeah.
Even that do remodels are probably not going to see the same kind of events or the same volume that service guys see.
Yeah.
So those are the guys that we target. And, you know, occasionally we get a bad lead, you know?
Yeah.
I have learned it's one company in particular, the gal that answers the phone has been trying to kind of vet these phone calls.
Oh, nice.
She sends us everything that she gets, and it's like, Kim, this isn't, you know, we went out with 15 leads and we landed one of them because the other team didn't have anything for us to do, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, that's, especially if you're trying to get busy though, you know, if you're just spinning your tails chasing stuff that's not going to turn into anything, that steals away from you being able to chase the ones that will, right?
Yeah, definitely. Very counterproductive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very hard at every level. You know, people say is this level harder than this. And I think every level in your company is equally challenging. It's just a different set of challenges. And I think a lot of like what you're talking about is trying to hone your process in, you know, find that ideal client. How do we get more of the good clients and less of the bad ones?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
are you guys wondering what to get your water techs for Christmas? A power box is the perfect gift, but don't take my word for it. Here's a clip from a Christmas party in 2019. What is it?
Open it.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! It's a power box! Yes! Yes! I've always wanted one.
Wait, are you crying?
So if you want your Christmas party to turn out like that one, get your WaterTech's a GMS power box made out of real lightning bolts for 39 easy payments of $9.99.
Now available in your favorite Christmas colors.
Okay, and then something I reached out to you. I mean, you guys are a larger organization, and you know, the trend seems to be a lot of people going with Matterport. I've been reaching out, just trying to. There's plenty of content on people that have used Matterport, so I'm not opposed to it. I feel like there's less content out there of people using DocuSketch, and you have been pretty vocal that that's been a good tool for you all. How did you come in contact with DocuSketch? And then
we have two Xactimate trainers, certified trainers here in our market.
Okay.
They work right down the road from us, and I met them on a fire loss in New Orleans. This was probably a year and a half ago, coming up on 2 years ago.
Okay.
And they were out at this fire loss, and I got called out to take a look at it. And I was there, and I introduced myself to them, and they were scanning the house with Matterport. And I just started a conversation. Basically, we do a lot of CE. We have an in-house classroom, a little flood room here.
Yeah.
And they do classes. And I invited them, hey, if you guys ever want to use our facility, come on. Anyway, I got to know them, and I had them scan a couple of projects for me right before we purchased DocuSketch. And he had both DocuSketch and Matterport.
Okay.
So we had a couple of jobs where we had these virtual tours, and we took a look at them. We wrote our estimates based on the information in each of them. And for our purposes, DocuSketch provided enough information for us to be able to write a complete scope.
Sure.
After looking at the cost of Matterport compared to DocuSketch, we just decided, hey, we've got samples of each of these technologies.
Yeah.
This is substantially less than the other.
Yeah.
And we're going to go with it. It was less than $500 for the DocuSketch setup. So we, for the price of a Matterport, we could have bought multiple DocuSketch setups, which we have done since then.
Yeah, yeah.
4 setups, and they're out pretty regularly.
And your techs are the ones running the DocuSketches. That's not just estimators or project managers.
No, it's the techs. The estimator. We like to see him at his desk writing estimates.
Yep.
He'll go out on occasion, but no, all of the techs understand how to run the DocuSketch.
Yeah, yeah. Have you, so I hear a couple of different, some people do before, mid, after, and a lot of people, I know a lot of contents people are using them too, because it helps, know this is where it was, or this is the condition. You can zoom in on so does DocuSketch allow you can zoom in and you can see close-ups of walls, contents, all those kinds of things, conditions?
You can. Yeah, you can. I don't know what the ratio of zoom is or any of that technical stuff, but I was just looking at a scan yesterday. We had a client says that we damaged her leather furniture.
Okay.
And I went in and looked, and I mean, it was on the back of the couch, which is up against the wall, so I couldn't really tell whether there was damage beforehand or not. But yeah, it's a great tool, and you can document, and it's not always going to cover you, just like this case that I had yesterday, but DocuSketch allows you to do that. And we do a scan before we start work, and then a scan when demo is complete and equipment is set up, so that we can justify if anybody's asking about what equipment was on the site, that we have a record.
Yeah. And then you can send that scan off to DocuSketch, and they'll send you back an ESX of the floor plan. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. It takes about a day to turn that around.
Yeah.
I think for a while that option was not available to everyone.
Okay.
It was, you had to have an enterprise account, which we're DKI, so we had that. I think that has changed. I think independents can get the ESX option now.
Yeah. I was talking to Chris Pemberton. He's up in, I believe it was Massachusetts, and it sounds like they're a smaller outfit and they're able to utilize it. So I don't think they're part of any network or whatnot. So
yeah, I think it was just, I'm sorry.
It sounds like that's the case.
I think it was a human resources issue. They didn't have the manpower to handle the volume of work, and they had to make some changes. And I guess that has happened. So.
And you can still do the 3D walkthrough and whatnot. Have you used that at all for marketing purposes or anything?
We have, yeah. When we do our CE events, we definitely show people that, hey, this is how we document these things.
Yeah.
And people like it. We have some realtors come through. They see it on their end because of they got the same technology in their industry, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely been a good tool. We're also, we've used it on Code Reds, which is a DKI thing. It's like a pre-planned response, disaster response, or ERP, emergency response program.
Yep.
Where you could go into a building and scan the entire building and know where the assets are, know where the electrical panels are, know where the fire sprinklers shut off, the water main.
Yeah.
That. And that's a tool that can be used in that kind of approach as well.
Very nice. And then as far as support and whatnot, if you've ever had issues with DocuSketch, are they pretty responsive and helpful?
They have been responsive, but I've only probably reached out to them a couple times. We've been on with them now since September of last year of 19. So,
yeah.
You know, full 16 months or so.
Well, I think that's I think it's been 3 or 4 people have interviewed on that particular topic, and that's what they say. It's less expensive, easy to use. It may not have all the bells and whistles, but it has everything you need, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you messed around with Matterport at all?
I haven't. No, the only time I've ever really seen it, I saw Seth with Actionable Insights do some stuff at one of our DKI events, and then the trainer that's here in my area, I've seen him scan 1 or 2 classes, but I haven't really had a chance to play with it myself.
As far as what you guys are doing, it's not been a necessity. So you 2021 is here. It's here. We survived 2020. But, you know, a lot of people, you got health goals, you got personal goals, I want to talk to you today about your reading goals. And in 1991, a man entered my life that left an indelible impression on me and gave me some guides, a guide to living life one step at a time. And that man is Dr. Leo Marvin. And in this little baby book, Baby Steps.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
I was able in 2020 to publish a book of my own. Hopefully that talks about the baby steps of developing the right mindset and habits for yourself and your team to succeed with estimating property insurance claims. This is in no way the prescriptive manual for anything related to estimating or Xactimate or any of those things, but hopefully it will help, and we've received mostly positive feedback that it has helped people develop the right mindset and habits. Challenge yourself, challenge your team. Maybe this is the right tool to help you all kind of get on the same page, working in the same direction.
Give me,
Okay, all right.
A lot of people think this is maybe a tactical book, but really, in my opinion, it's about the whole approach to an estimate from the perspective of everybody involved in it and everybody impacted by it, because when a lackluster estimate is written, it ripples through the company. You know, it creates trouble for the project managers who have to implement that job. It creates trouble for the subs and the technicians and carpenters that have to work off of an improperly written scope, a poorly written scope. And then it creates troubles with supplements if you're not capturing all of those things. So having the right mindset and the right habits can set you and your team up for success. So take those baby steps and read our latest article in the Restoration and Remediation magazine, my column, The Intentional Restorer. got when did you open your, I know you're very active with continuing education credits. When did you build or open your flood house?
We opened the first one back in 2011. We were in about a 5,000 square foot facility at the time, and it was just warehouse and offices. We had people sitting in the warehouse in metal folding chairs with plastic tables.
Nice.
We built a little 200 square foot facility with a 4-foot stem wall around it and some carpet, and that's all it was to start. We've moved a couple times since then, and now it's a little bit more robust. We got tile, some cabinets, some hardwood, carpet. So yeah, we've been doing that for a while.
Yeah, very cool. And is that part of your marketing strategy to bring people in? You said you bring some realtors in and those kinds of things.
Yeah, it has been. I think it's becoming less, or we're getting more focused on who we need to be presenting to. Yeah. I think our strategy for a lot of years was, let's just throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks. And now it's like I got a dart now. I'm trying to be a little more specific. And I think the deal is that there's a lot of realtors compared to maybe agents and adjusters, insurance agents and adjusters. I don't know, maybe the numbers are comparable, but we would get huge turnouts for the realtors, and they can throw you some work, but we've come to realize over the years that it's typically they're shopping. I got a buyer, they're looking at this house, they want a discount.
Can you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's been my experience. My wife's a realtor, and she's talking about, hey, leads. And I was like, in my experience, no offense, realtors aren't typically the best source of quality leads,
Yeah. We just started in the last couple months. We found, I've been trying to get my CE on with the state plumbing board here.
Okay.
But they have been resistant. They have not accepted that. So we finally found an outside resource that does.
Yeah.
He does a 4-hour course, and these guys, they have to renew every year.
Yeah.
Good for journeyman masters and gas fitters, which you got to be licensed in Louisiana. So he's putting on his 3rd presentation tomorrow for us. It's the end of the year. We'll probably have 20 guys here, I would imagine. And we're going to have a mix of probably owners.
Yeah.
Licensed guys that are employees.
Yeah.
We're going to have some new construction guys, some remodel guys, but I would imagine we'll have at least a handful, maybe half the room would be service guys.
Yeah.
And we just get them in our doors. They get to see our facility.
Yeah.
We talk to them about our referral fee program. We also do a big giveaway like every 6 months. We're giving a 4-wheeler right now.
Oh, dang.
So for every time they refer us a water damage job, they get entered to win the 4-wheeler. So come May, we'll do a drawing, and one of these guys will walk out with a 4-wheeler. This is the 5th one that we give away.
Dang.
We try to educate them on our services. What we do as far as water damage, our ratings, our reviews, the fact that we're not a program vendor, that we work for the client, not the carrier. And we've gone so far. Let me grab one of these. We started putting together this little Dickies bag here.
Okay.
And I've got a little $20 moisture meter in here.
Oh, okay.
General moisture meter, and we show them how to use it.
Yeah.
And we put a little notepad in here as well that basically says what your content should be, and the plumber can then write in what your content actually is. So if there's wet materials, they can fill all that out, put their name at the bottom, leave it with the homeowner, and the homeowner will give us a call. We'll come out and do a little free assessment. That's been working pretty good for us.
Wow, that's just simple stuff. Well, I like your idea, right? Like realtors maybe get a big turnout, but we're not really getting the bang for the buck. And then whereas I'd much rather spend, a lot more money on a small room of plumbers that's going to turn into something, right? So
absolutely,
that's really smart. I'm assuming you feed them too. You guys are probably pretty good at putting something together.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually do free lunches for them every Friday.
Okay.
That's when we hand out our referral fees, is during the free lunch Fridays, and the guys come. It was big before COVID hit. Now we're trying to rebuild it, but it'll be a bit of a process, I would imagine.
Yeah. Are you guys shut down there or back open or? as far as the state?
We're, I don't know. They were talking about going back to phase 2, but I haven't really seen much of anything. It's business as usual, I think. There's still people asking you to put masks on, and I've been not the biggest fan of that, but
is what it is. Yep. Well, awesome, Kevin. Anything else as we wrap up? Our goal, again, help people shorten their dang learning curve. I mean, you've dropped a lot of really good nuggets, been there, done that. So maybe the guys that are, starting out or trying to break in, anything that you would say, hey, I learned this is important to stop doing, and this is really important to start doing if you want to be successful.
Well, that's a long list. I got let's just stop there. A lot of very hard lessons that I learned. One of them, just off the top of my head, is estimate peer review with the estimating.
Huh.
I hired an estimator 2 or 3 years ago, and he's very good at what he does. And I thought I was writing great mitigation estimates. Well, it turns out I was leaving dollars on the table every job. Money that would go straight to the bottom line. So if I would have any suggestions to some of the newer guys, is if you're writing your own estimates, or even if someone else is writing them for you, make sure that you get it in front of somebody who can be a peer, somebody who can review that.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this Ask Amy?
No.
Program. Ben Justinson told me about it. It's ASKAIME.com. I had a phone conversation with Ben Justinson. I don't know, it's been a couple months. You upload a rough draft of your Xactimate, your PDF, and Ask Amy analyzes your estimate and then comes back and tells you, well, you had baseboard in your estimate, but you didn't have paint. You had shoe, but you didn't have caulk. You had application of antimicrobial, but you didn't have clean floors.
Wow.
And it'll critique your estimate. It'll give you suggestions on items that would normally be related to whatever items are in your estimate.
Wow. Okay.
And it's a monthly fee is like $125, and then a $5 or $10 upload per estimate. The first estimate that we uploaded, my estimator Tom wrote, it was a $56,000 repair estimate.
Yeah.
He missed $300.
Wow.
So we got our money back on the first one. It was blown away that he only missed $300.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. But we got our money back on the very first estimate that we did. And so he used that software for maybe 2 months, and he's like, well, everything that I was missing, it was the same thing every time. He's like, I learned.
Yeah.
I figured it out. And so we're not using the Ask Amy anymore. We may want to do it periodically, but that's a good service to make sure you're not leaving money on the table.
Yeah. Shameless plug.
There you go.
I'll send you a copy if you don't have one, but
please.
This is, I'm in no way, you mentioned Ben Justison. I view the book as more like the precursor to Actionable Insights or Ben Justison. It's more about mindset, habits, so that when you go to those classes, actually learn, it sets you up for success. It's more about just having a process for writing estimates as opposed to the nitty gritty that those people have mastered,
You need to be prepared going into those classes too. I mean, the first Xactimate class that I took, I think I left with practically no good information just because I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
Used software. It was, a waste of time. Not to say the classes are. I mean, we've had Stephen Harmon here. We've had Ben Justinson here. We've had Bruce Othman and Jill Smith, who are the local trainers. And our game is improved dramatically as a result of taking those classes and learning about the things that, what are you leaving off your estimates? What's justified? What's not?
Yeah. Well, and it's hard for people to recognize in the insurance. It's all about scope, right? You need to capture the right scope. And for your everyday kitchen and bathrooms, most of the stuff is there. It's when you get into some of those unique stuff, those unique things. We had Chris Stanley on, he's an adjuster. And he talked about, the box, every adjuster you're working with has a box they have to play with. And you can shout and scream all you want about the box, but if you learn to master the basics, it's pretty amazing what you can do with Xactimate. So, I'll shoot me your address and I'll send you a copy. So,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, awesome. I thank you so much for taking the time and for reaching out. And I've got gobs of notes. There's a lot of really good nuggets. I love it. I think that's the when it's not so much that any of us are smarter than anyone else. It's just more I failed at that and learned my lesson.
Yeah.
That's the Bible all about it.
Yeah.
So, well, awesome.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and let me know if I can do anything in the future to assist.
Very good. All right, Kevin. I'll keep you posted on when this goes live and whatnot, and we'll keep in touch.
Sounds good, John.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Great weekend.
Yep. You too.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.